I'm I'm here with my friend Jennifer Bartell Boykin. She is really cool and she's joined me super early in the morning at her day job. Thank you so much. This is the What She Said project. It's also beginning Year of Nose. So before we get into what this is and why these two people are talking so early in the morning and with not enough coffee, I want to tell you why Jennifer is here. Number one, she's cool and my friend. Number two, Jennifer Bartell Boykin is the poet laureate of the city of Columbia. She teaches at Spring Valley High School, where she was named the 2019-2020 Teacher of the Year. She was born and raised in Bluefield, a community of Johnsonville, South Carolina. She received the MFA in poetry from University of South Carolina here in Columbia. Her debut book of poetry, which we will hear about, Traveling Mercy, will be released, hold on, 2023. That November, that's now.
Yes.
Ooh. Under the name Jennifer Bartell. Her poetry has been published in Obsidian, Callaloo, Pluck, As/Us, the Raleigh Review, Kinfolks, a Journal of Black Expression, Jasper Magazine, the Museum Americana, Scalawag, Kakalak, among others. This brilliant person is an alumna of Agnes Scott College. Hey, Agnes Scott. Jennifer has fellowships from Callaloo and the Watering Hole. She is pursuing a Master of Library and Information Science at USC to become a school librarian, and she still is here with us.
Somehow.
Thank you so much for being here. I want to ask you one personal question to start us off.
Okay.
That's your professional bio. As a creative, what else is not in there that you think we should know about you today?
As a creative, I love to cook. I love to bake. Cleaning this is creative slash personal, but cleaning is kind of therapeutic for me sometimes. I just kind of get in a cleaning frenzy. Um, I love music. I love listening to music from movie scores, TV scores when I'm doing something and I'm trying to concentrate. That's one of my favorite things to do. Um, I'm a mother, I have a 3-year-old son, and I'm a wife. I've been married 4 years. Yeah, 4 years. Going on 5. Next year will be 5 years. Um, so yeah, yeah, I'll stop right there.
That is one of the reasons why you're our first guest for this thing I've decided to do between this year and my 50th birthday, which is late October 2024.
Okay,
So,
nice.
yeah, I was like, what? So I decided what I'm going to do is, now that I am entering the writing world with 2 feet, not just dabbling, I'm like aiming for it. There are things as a different type of creative I don't know how to do. And so I'm not going to go back and get an MFA like you. I have one in a different art form. So I'm just like, that would be silly. 2 MFAs at my age. I mean, I know we like education, but
Yeah.
no, these MFAs are great. And how does a person with a full life like you have learn to make the odds be in their favor? We know we got to put stuff out.
Yeah.
Well, I'm here to like soak up all your wisdom. How you said your year of nose started 2022?
Well, actually, if it started a lot earlier, if we're being honest. So when I finished my MFA in 2014 from USC, I had my thesis, which was the book of poetry. And so I started sending it out in 2014 to different places. So really my year of getting rejections started in 2014. So every year I would get rejections, then there'd be a finalist in a couple of places. And I just would go back and I would revise, I would make changes, then I would send it back out. And so 2022 was kind of that was the year that I started blogging about the rejections. And it was, I did a really major revision. I changed a lot. of poems. I took some poems out, I added some new poems, I changed the title, and I just did this really major revision, and I felt really good about it. I was very confident about it. And so I started sending it back out. And of course, I started, getting rejections. And so I was just like, man, I got this one rejection letter, and it was just it was demoralizing. It wasn't like a mean rejection letter or anything, but I think it was just the compounded rejection letters from all of the years and everything that, years and years of rejections. And this one was just like, ugh, this feels terrible. And I decided that I was going to start blogging about it, because it's that part of the writing process that nobody really talks about that much. It's not, it's not sexy. And rejections aren't sexy. You don't see a lot of people putting on social media, hey, I got rejected from this place. Although you do have some writers who do that. It was something that I had never really done, and never really talked about. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to talk about this, and I'm going to blog about it. And I'm just going to be transparent with myself, first of all, and transparent with other people and other writers, because I knew I wasn't the only writer experiencing that, right? Because it's a part of the process. You're going to get rejections, you're going to fail, you're going to put yourself out there, and somebody's going to be like, no. So it's part of the process, but I wanted to start a conversation about it. And it's not even just, it's bigger than just the writing process too, right? So the trying to get published, it's in any endeavor. You're going to fail. You're going to get rejected. I think it was like the FedEx guy that somebody told him it was a bad idea or something like that. And you have several examples of people who have an idea, or they're trying to do something, and they're pushing and they're pushing and they're pushing, and nothing happens for a long time, and they just keep pushing. And then that moment comes, and it's like, wow, yes, here we are. All of that heartache, all the rejections, it was for a purpose. So I think March, I went back and looked at the blog when I was communicating with you on Facebook. But March of 2022, I did my first blog about that rejection, that rejection that was just like, ugh. And I was just like, I am in despair. I feel terrible. I know that there's hope on the other side of it, but I just don't feel it right now. I really, in that first one, I was just like, I think the name of it was A Quick Note on Rejection. It was very short. It wasn't long. I said what happened. And so from then, whenever I would get a rejection letter, I would do a blog on the letter. And so I think the next letter I got, it was like, it was a rejection letter, but they had like a personal note where they were like, we loved your manuscript. We're not going to be able to publish it, or it wasn't a finalist or whatever. And so it was a hopeful rejection letter, which I guess is some type of oxymoron or paradox or something. But so then I blogged about that one. And then I can't remember how many rejection blog posts I got, but so March is when I started, and then June is when I got word from Finishing Line Press that they wanted to publish the book. So even within, I did so with Traveling Mercy. Like I said, I changed the title of the book, and I made a lot of major revisions to it. And I stepped out and I did something different that year that I hadn't done before. I went on Submittable, and I was like, let me just scroll through and see who's looking for poetry manuscripts, which for some reason I hadn't done that before. I don't know why. But I usually just I'll see some announcements or people send me stuff, and I was like, oh, I'll send it there. But I did that, and I found a few places, and Finishing Line Press was one of those places. And the thing about Finishing Line Press was they were like, if you send us your manuscript, you can send it for free, I think it was at that time. But they were like, if you pay $50, we'll give you feedback on your manuscript. And I was like, you know what? I haven't really gotten formal feedback on the manuscript before. Let me do that. So I stepped out and I tried something different, because we all know the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting the same results. So I said, okay, let me just try something different. And so I did that. I paid the money, and I had no expectation that they would actually pick it up. But so she sent me the feedback on the book, and then was like, and we want to publish it. And I was like, what? Right, yeah. So it was just like, oh wow, okay. And that was like June of 2022. So I had just started the library information science program during that time, which is a virtual program. So I had just started that program, and I was at home with my son because he wasn't quite in daycare yet during that time. So him and I were home together, and I was reading on my phone. I read the like feedback first, and then it was like, and we want to publish it. And I just started screaming. Then my son started screaming, and he was all happy and excited. And so yeah, that's how I found out they wanted to publish Traveling Mercy. And that was June of last year. Eesh.
So I love a pro tip, and I heard a few in there. Pro
Okay.
tips, like, because Submittable is one of the places that I learned about over the, I don't know how many years, because there's other ways they use Submittable for grants. So I do a lot of like I write a lot of grant proposals for big projects, humongous ones, tiny ones, all the ones. They're
Mhm.
also Submittable. So you can search within Submittable and look for manuscript and poetry. And for me, I would put manuscript and memoir.
Mhm.
And that is actually, I can look for pro tips. I'm just thinking for folks that are new to this game, look for places that come up that you think, did you vet them at all? Or were you just like, ready, go?
You know, I didn't vet them. I think when I was like finishing my press, because I heard of them before, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, they publish a lot of titles. So I'd heard of the press before, so that was kind of like enough for me. And I think I Googled it real quick, and I was like, oh, okay, it's in Georgetown, Kentucky, and okay. So that was enough for me. I think I have there's a few poets I know who have books published by them. So I was like, okay, I recognize the name. But yeah, there are some places where it's like, you know, being in the poetry world and knowing different, you know, poetry places and presses, it's like you see the name of a certain press and you know, okay, that's a great press. It'd be awesome if I could have a book published in that press. But then you also have a lot of great independent small presses out there that are doing great work as well. And most of them have great websites that you can go on to, and you can click and see the poets and the writers that they previously published, to kind of get a gauge at, well, would my book be, would this be a good place for my book to get my book published? So yeah, that would be a recommendation. Like, just check out if it's a press you're not familiar with, Google them, look at their website, look at the other authors and poets they previously published, to see if you think your book can have a home there.
Yeah, it's almost like dating, don't you think? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like we're gonna make Google search them a little bit before we're giving them our home address.
Right. Yeah. Let me check you out a little bit. Right.
Yeah, it's like Facebook dating. Who do you know? Because I like the fact that you had heard, you'd been paying attention, you were
Yeah.
in that world. But for folks that are like entering in, that's a good place to Google and see if it feels like a good fit.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, you know, you got Poets and Writers
Oh
um,
yeah.
magazine that, you know, has the list of all the places that are accepting not just manuscripts, but some places that like send us 4 poems and you can win a prize. So you have those, and then they have the grants and awards and all that too. So Poets and Writers magazine. Can't think of the names of any other writers magazines right now, but I know that there are a lot that do that, and they have some lists available online as well.
You're teaching English, yes? You're an English teacher? Is that what are you
Yes.
teaching? Okay.
Yeah, I'm an English teacher. So this semester I have English 101 through the dual enrollment program with Midlands Tech, and then creative writing. So that's what I have this semester.
So for creative writers, when it's so interesting. You were in a big MFA program where I'm sure you got a lot of feedback and were trained like a skill to sort of like do that for yourself.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how to get feedback and how to how do you do that without getting your hopes crushed by your grandma?
How do I do that with students or
Yeah,
just?
but with students or as an author, give me the because we've
Oh,
been talking about feedback a lot in my circles.
well, with the MFA program, there, you do the workshops in class, and everybody has your poem, and they have their feedback, and it was kind of difficult sometimes doing workshops in my MFA program because I felt like some of my peers didn't understand my poems. I
Mhm,
felt like they didn't understand like because my poems are very specific to me and my experience as a Black woman who was born and raised in the South,
mhm,
that have, a Geechee grandmother. And so I feel like a lot of my work is grounded in that. And I felt like some of them didn't understand certain aspects of my work. Um, but I think one of the good things about workshop is when they're talking about your work, you can't talk. So you just kind of have to sit there and wait till they're finished. And then, you can say whatever you want to say after that. But I really love though getting the feedback, getting the written feedback from my peers and looking through it. And it's always something that I tell, students is this is the feedback, but this is also your work, and you get to decide what is going to work, what feedback is going to work to help you get that draft to wherever you want it to be. You don't have to take everything that people say. I think a dangerous thing sometimes about workshops is sometimes people just say things so that they have something to say, and it's not really meaningful. They just kind of it's sometimes it's like they just tear it to shreds sometimes just because they can. And it's not necessarily a helpful process in some circumstances. Um, so that's kind of my experience in the MFA context. But I would say when I went to the places like the Watering Hole or Callaloo, it was a lot more my workshop experience was a lot more grounded,
mhm,
and I had a lot more constructive feedback.
mhm,
So I would say, I really like that you said in the beginning that, you not really going to get another MFA, because there's a place where you can have that writing community that's
mhm,
not an MFA. There are so many different writing programs that's not MFA programs where you can apply, you can go, and some of them are even virtual. You don't have to go in person. You got stuff like the Bread Loaf writing conference, and there's so many different ones out there. So it's like, do you want to switch gears? And like nonfiction is something that I'm getting into, and I really want to go to like some type of writing workshop or something with nonfiction, because
mhm.
I wrote a memoir during the pandemic. I wrote a memoir during the pandemic when I was pregnant with my son. It started out as a pregnancy journal, and then, I was 3 months pregnant, March 2020, when we went in lockdown, and then I just started writing about that, and then George Floyd was murdered, and all this stuff started to happen, and it's like this is bigger than just a pregnancy journal, because I want my son to know what was happening in the world when I was carrying him. And so I wrote about that. Yeah, I just want to explore nonfiction. Nonfiction has always been my second favorite writing genre, after poetry. So I've always dabbled into it, but I love to learn more about it, and take a workshop and get feedback and all that good stuff.
Okay, I'm sitting here looking at you as a person that I bet this manuscript is already good. And look how humble you are saying, I want to take a class. Can you, can you tell us, just for us listening in, watching you, adoring you, thinking, wow, if you need a class, I might need an MFA. And I'm a nonfiction writer, essay. I have a memoir I'm workshopping and trying to get out.
Mhm.
So tell me, how many words does this document have, this memoir? Where is it?
It You know what? Let me pull it up because I can tell you.
Because you
It,
and I've talked about it before, but now I need to know more.
well, also like that summer of 2020 when I got the news about the poetry about Traveling Mercy, I went on Readsy. I don't know
Mm.
if you've heard of Readsy, but I went on there. I was like, oh, I got this, because I was just writing stuff and I was just typing. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I know this needs work. This is in really tough shape. So I went on there and I hired an editor. Um,
Mm.
and she went through the whole thing with me and gave me some wonderful, wonderful feedback. And that was a great experience. That was a really great experience, and it really taught me a lot about, memoir writing. But
Can
I
I
also
ask,
yeah, go ahead.
I actually have begun to bring in copywriters into my world. I know two of them, two editor copyright sort of people.
Mhm.
Can you tell me, for the average person, how many dollars per word? How do you know if you're paying the right amount for these folks? Do
Yeah,
you?
that was my first time, right? So I really didn't have a gauge for it. Um, I I was just like, this is so on the great thing about the Reezy app is you can say this is my budget
Oh,
for this is my budget and this is how much I want to spend. And then you can send things to like 3 or 4 different people and send your query letter or whatever to them, and they can be like, oh well, I think we'd be good to work together. This is how much I can charge you, and it'll be either within your budget or not, and you can decide like, oh no, I can't afford that, or oh, I need something more on the lower end. So you can kind of set your budget for how much you would want it to be, how much you're willing to pay. um but some of them have also like rates. So some of them will be like, I'm not going to take any job for, if the job is this much, then this is how much I usually charge. So which, one thing my husband and I talk about all the time is like, you got to pay the artist. So, pay people what they're worth, pay people their rates. Is very important. But I would say that the person I ended up getting she was very kind. She was, what did she say? She had something, I don't know what happened in her family history, but she said that she gave me a discount because she said it was part of her, like, her social justice work, trying to reverse some of the damage her family did in the past. And so she actually ended up giving me a discount
great.
for um for the work that we did. But I'm pulling up the word count, and it says 44,847, 133 pages.
That's
Um,
35K, 130 plus pages.
yeah. And there's poems in it too, so it's poetry and nonfiction.
Of course.
Of course, right.
So would they call that like a hybrid memoir? They use those words a lot, hybrid.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, I definitely would call it that. Yeah, because I have some. And some of the poems are from Traveling Mercy, but some of them are poems that I wrote while I was pregnant. Some of them are other poems that just kind of fit with what I was talking about in a certain place. So yeah.
So a scale of 1 to 10, 10, and we know as writers, like, or any project creative makers, we never completely feel finished. 10 is like as most finished as you can feel. 1, no way, I'm not even letting my partner look at it. Where on the scale of 1 to 10 do you feel like this project is
The
for you?
memoir,
Yeah.
I feel like it's at like maybe a 6.
Hmm.
So it's not in like the rawest form that it was. I would say before the editor is probably like a 3. And so it's up there at this point. And I haven't really been able to go back and make a lot of those additional edits on it. But at this point I'm like, you know what? Maybe I just need to find a literary agent and get somebody to find a publisher, and then the editor at the publishing house, work with that person to
Yep.
get get the edits where they need to be, because I feel like I don't want to edit this book and then I know I'm gonna have to edit it multiple times. So it's just like, let me just wait and see what happens.
I'm sure you know this, but I just came off of a writers conference last weekend and I talked to some nonfiction agents, memoir agents. And
Oh,
what they said was mine's about 38,000 words.
okay.
It's also a hybrid memoir, not with poetry, but with science and other studies, because it's a tragicomic medical memoir.
Oh, okay.
Like there's several of those starting to float around, very feminist in nature, intersections of feminism, disability, all, how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what they said. Query letter, so important. Let them know what you already have. And then they're going to ask for maybe 3 chapters or 10 to 20 pages.
Yeah.
And they decide, right? And so then they sell what you have. And so you may have enough to do what you just said.
I know I do. It's funny because I did, and I don't know if this should make it on the podcast or not, but I sent a query letter to Hub City,
Oh,
and they were like, please send us the first, I don't know, 20 pages. And I did, and I heard nothing back. Like, no, oh, it's not
when
gonna
did
work
you
for
do that?
us. And I know it needs work. Like, I know it's not where it needs to be, but I feel like the bare bones of it is good enough to where if I know I need to work with an editor, I need to work with somebody to, finesse it. But this was 2021-ish. Hold on, I can go back in my submittable because I sent it on submittable.
I just sent in my full manuscript on their open period.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It was
Okay.
open
That
again in April.
you know what? I think that's when I sent mine, the open. I sent the query letter and they accepted. And then I was like, oh, okay. So and then I sent it to them and then I didn't hear anything back. And
Yeah,
so I was talking to Ed about it because I was like,
that would
yeah,
be Ed Madden. Everyone, Ed Madden. He
he
was.
Ed Madden. So I was like, Ed, I sent it to them. And he was like, oh, maybe they just got lost or something, because he was saying maybe they just lost track of it, because he was saying they were like, they did something with Ray and it was like, oh yeah, we're going to publish that. And it was like, oh, okay. And so I sent an email to the editor, I think Meg,
Hmm?
and I don't think she ever responded back to me. So I never, this was, oh, it was actually 2020. Oh, so this was probably the raw version they got. October 2020. Let me see. Yeah, I sent the query October 30th, and then let me check my email because then it's like off submittable. Meg. Yeah, Meg Reed. Let me see.
While you're looking at it, that is who I met. That's one of the people I met at the conference. And she said that if you have submitted something, then submit it and you don't hear anything, that means they moved on, but you can submit it the next time if it has had a major revision.
Um,
That would be April, I think. But I'm sure a person like you can go directly to them. I don't know. You've got avenues.
let me see. Yeah, I think I saw something one time with Hub City that they were talking about we want to publish more diverse voices and this, that, and the other. And I'm really inclined to not send it to them again.
Smart.
Because it's just like, you know,
You want someone to champion it.
yeah, I do. And it's, you mentioned your memoir and and the medical aspect of mine. So the title of the memoir is One Foot in the Graveyard. And that's something my grandma used to say about pregnant women. Pregnant women have one foot in the graveyard. And so research has revealed that Black women statistically have very high chance of dying in childbirth, post childbirth. And
In
so
South Carolina.
in South Carolina through nationwide.
Yes.
Yes, no
I
matter,
think that
doesn't matter,
works.
doesn't matter the economic level, doesn't matter how much education the Black woman has, her chances of dying and her chances of her child dying as well are I think it's 4 times higher than white women. And it may be even higher for Indigenous women. So part of the book is I'm giving like my son a history of like our family, a history of what's happening in 2020. And also I'm terrified that I'm gonna die having my son, or that my son is gonna die, you know. So those are the things, which is a very, you know, it's a very important conversation that's ongoing and happening now, has been happening for years. And we still have Black women dying, either in childbirth or after their, you know, we have a lot of people who they go home and their blood pressure spikes or something happens, and, you know, and then they end up dying. And so a big part of the memoir is, you know, being terrified, being pregnant, bringing life into the world, being really excited about that, but also being terrified at the same time. Yeah.
I have someone, I was just thinking, like in the best world, someone like, in my mind, maybe someone like Roxane Gay would pick this book up. Like, I'm just thinking of who could champion it and get it to the right people and know the right avenues to lift this and like spotlight it and put it near the right people.
Mm.
But when you're looking for the right fit, this is a part of like, let the odds be in your favor. As a person who's been in sales my whole
Yeah.
life, I know how to think strategically about how to get whatever it is, the right product to the right person.
Mhm.
So think about this book. What would be like the perfect, like you don't have to name names, but like a perfect publisher for this or agent for this would be someone who, what would you say?
You said the perfect publisher.
Yeah, or the perfect literary agent, the right next person.
Um, I would say someone who understands the importance of Black women's narratives. Um, and also, you know, because it's the thing about the memoir is it's doing a lot of different things. So it's a pandemic story, and it's a pregnancy story, and it's a, you know, of course it's about, you know, Black woman growing up in the South story, because I'm always going to tell that story. But there's so many different things that it does. But I think at the heart of it, it's a it's a Black woman narrative, and it's a story of the pandemic. It's a Black woman narrative that's a story of the pandemic. So someone who, a publisher who can understand and appreciate that, because I really, another thing about, you know, Hub City is just like, I feel like this book may be bigger than Hub City, and I'm not saying that to boast or brag or anything,
Just
but
what I
I just feel like it could go to one of the big publishers and do well.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I'm gonna try to aim high on this one.
And get a like a really smart, scrappy agent who's like in love with the work because they're going to work harder for it. Like that good fit. I don't know, having good connections, them having good connections is what they're supposed to do. And
Yeah.
I love an underdog story. So what do you feel about agents who've been in the business, literary agents, like less than 10 years? Do you think, what do you think of?
I'm at this point, I'm open to anything. Like I really, I don't know a lot about that world. I know as a nonfiction book, I'm gonna need a literary agent because the business is different from the poetry side. So I know that part, but I'm open to anything. I just need an agent at this point. So if they're not very experienced, but they're gonna fight for that book, then I'm for that person. Yeah.
All right, so I did meet someone. She's not a perfect fit, but she is in the illness narrative nonfiction memoir space that
Okay.
I so I'm going to send her her information offline. Okay, so I know
Okay.
that you have to
That'd be great.
I'm about it because I need to read this book too. I'm excited. Plus, once we get these medically oriented narratives out, we can have our own like panel conference. It's just like there's so many.
That would be great.
Yep.
That would be great.
Is there anything, thank you so much for your time today. Is there anything that you want to say to our listeners at the What She Said Project about Year of No or anything else?
This is what I want to say. I want to say that on the other side of the no's will be a yes. And it takes one yes for there to be a mountain of yeses. And that's what happened to me. So it's like that June 2022, I get the, okay, yeah, we want to publish Travel and Mercy. And I'm like, yay. And then November 2022, I applied to be poet laureate. January 2023, I become poet laureate. So that's another yes. And I'm going to pause because the bell's ringing. So that was another yes. And then it's just been yes, 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 a bunch of yeses from there on. And it's just like, I feel, and I don't know if it was because part of me wants to say it's because I started talking about rejections that I started getting accepted. I don't know if that's like how the divine universe worked in my favor or not. I like to believe it is, but yeah, it's just been a lot of yeses after that moment. And also I want to say that my husband is so supportive, and I would not be able to do a lot of the things that I do without him. So I really want to, send a shout out to my husband, because he's always like, yeah, babe, do this. You can do it. He's my biggest cheerleader, and he's just always there for me. And he takes care of things, and he makes it easier for me to go out in the world and be the poet writer that I've always wanted to be. He supports my dreams so much, and I just love him to death. I love him to life. I'm gonna say I love him to life.
I have seen y'all together and you are absolutely love bugs. You two are adorable. I just sort of stand between you and like breathe all the love in. I'm like, little sip there, a little sip. Just for numbers' sake, because I'm nerdy about numbers, if you were to guess how many times you sent out this book, and then I want you to tell us how we can purchase it, just guess. How many no's do you think? Hundreds?
I want to say it has to be hundreds. 100 and something. I don't think it got up to 200. I would say maybe 120, 110, 120. Because I sent it out from 2014 to 2022, so that's almost 10 years. And I at some point I started keeping track of where I was sending it. So, I could go back and count some of them, but I'm just like, you know what, whatever. But I would say probably 100. Yeah. And I don't even know how much money, because, you have to pay to send it in. So definitely hundreds of dollars. Definitely, probably maybe approaching 1,000. Definitely on the dollar side, but yeah.
Too. So like having someone to help you, and just for like processing sake, like you worked on it for a year, do you think? And then you started submitting it 2 years? How long was like from idea to starting to send it out?
Well, I was writing poems for it. I started writing poems in it like 2012 was probably when the first poem for it existed. And then I wrote more poems, and then the thesis manifested in 2014. And then I would revise it every year. It would just get revised every year.
How do we purchase this book? Because on your bio it said November 2023. That's now.
So the publication date is November 17th. Which is right around the corner. So if anybody orders now, I think pre-orders are still in. You can go to the Finishing Line Press website, or let me see, what is it? If you go to my Instagram,
Mhm.
Jenny with an I, BB55,
Mhm.
JENNIBB55. If you go to my Instagram and then click on my bio, click on the link in my bio. I have a link tree there that has the link that you can go directly to. I think you can get to it through my website too, jenniferbartellpoet.com. But if you just Google Jennifer Bartell Finishing Line Press, it'll pop up and you'll be able to order it that way. And I also will be having, I don't know, when is it supposed to come out?
Next week.
Next week. Oh, okay, perfect. So I will be having a book launch on December 20th at the Finney Cultural Arts Center. So I'll send out more information on that on my social media. But it's like a little drop in. I know it's a busy time of the year, but I wanted to do at least one thing before 2023 ended with the book. So I'll have an event in January at All Good Books, and there'll be some things coming up in Columbia. So I'll have all of that on my social media in the next couple of months. Wow, this year's almost over.
Is I am so thankful that you came on to kick off this year of no's. It sounds like I might need more than 1 year of no's, but we'll kick this off with you. Thank you so much. We're so excited about your book. I'll put all the links everywhere. And then hopefully, maybe when this thing gets picked up, when I get a yes, will you come back?
Sure. Yeah, just let me know.
Sure. And I'm going to send you that agent's name and information.
Oh, yes, 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 yes. Thank you so much.
Welcome. Have a great day. And thanks for all you do for us creatives.
Thank you. Take care.